Good evening, Giants, and welcome to Wake Up with Giants Radio. I guess I should change the branding. That would be a good
Yeah,
thing.
you know.
We are diving into topics that just really will help you to become your greatest potential. And so tonight we've got a special show because of Thanksgiving tomorrow night, tomorrow day, all day in the United States here. I'm just going to ramble for a minute, but we got our special guest, Pride Smith, and our topic is on gratitude and why it's so important and in your journey. And so let's dive right in. Pride, do you want to kind of lead us in to the topic, or do you have some
Yeah,
thoughts
sure.
around
He's
that?
all,
Yeah.
no.
Nope.
Nope.
Really, really ungrateful to be here.
I
Uh,
don't
yeah,
know.
no,
Just for anybody that knows, too, Pride Smith's like a brother to us. Actually, he is Nick's brother.
I am a brother,
We do
legitimately
share some DNA.
or illegitimately. I'm a brother, one way or the
Yeah.
other.
Oh, this is going to be a great show.
I'm a little worried about this show. Yeah.
He knows too much.
Yeah.
Let's
Now
talk about
dive us in, Pride. Let's start the conversation. We'll go for about 30 minutes and then take a break and dive
awesome.
right back in. Breathe.
Yeah, breathe. Yeah, no. The the subject, when you guys contacted me about the show and about what to talk about, Thanksgiving, like gratitude's always a good thing, and sometimes I just have a tendency to forget that in the journey. And it's really important to not forget that in the journey. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But just kind of kick off one of the things that I reflected back on this week. You and I had a chance to talk when I was up at your house last week, and just you get in the journey, you get stuck in ruts, you get in these places where you're just like, I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. I feel like I'm just in these dark holes, whatever it is. And I think that's when it's most important to just stop and look around, look at what you have, look at, like, be grateful for where you are, be grateful for what you've come into. And I wasn't in that space last week. You hit those things where it's like, I got all these great ideas that I want to share with people and share with the world, and you get trapped in this hole of, it's not working, it's not going, it's not moving fast enough, whatever it is. And so I took a bunch of time to sit down and kind of go over this gratitude thing and kind of reflect before doing this radio show today.
That's
And
more
one of
homework than any of us have ever done. That sounds like a lot of work. That's amazing, Pride.
I'm
the nice
grateful
part
for
of
that.
it was, though,
Oh,
it was like there was no work. It was just like, sit down and
oh,
stop. Just
oh.
don't do anything. Just
Hmm.
just look around and be grateful. And I looked at where we are right now. Like, my wife and I just got this little, we call it a ranch. It's 30 acres out in the middle of nowhere. But for us, it's our mini ranch, and it's this goal and dream that we've had for a long time. And the journey to get here was kind of a crazy little journey. Right after I graduated college, we moved into this rental house, and it was a dump. I mean, it was nasty. Um, Probably some memories that my wife doesn't want to remember, because it was like there was so many cockroaches in this house that when we peeled the wallpaper off, it was literally wallpapered in cockroach crap. Like, it was
You.
disgusting. Like the filthiest house I think I've ever been in. But it was available, the price was right, and we were like, look, we can fix it up. We can clean it up, we can paint, we can do whatever inside of this rental. And we did. We moved into this place, and it was it was hell. It was a nightmare. Just a nasty, nasty home. And in the back, my wife really wanted to get into gardening. She wanted to do this garden stuff, and the backyard was just full of trash. And so I got together some buddies. We came in and we hauled out. We must have hauled out 4 or 5 pickups full of just garbage, like legitimate garbage. It was old tires. It was buried, like somebody had buried trash bags in the backyard. Um, and so we went through and we cleared out this whole backyard, and the space we cleared out was probably like a 15-foot by 20-foot area. So we had 5 truckloads of garbage in a 15-foot by 20-foot area. And I remember, as we're hauling out all this garbage, I was thinking, what are we doing? Like, how did we end up in this house? How did we end up with this trash in the backyard? Like, we've chosen this as our place to live, and it was, kind of a starting point. But we started working on this thing, and we worked on this garden, and we started just building it into something and researching and kind of learning everything we could about how to garden in a small space. And we lived in that house. I think we lived there for about 3 years, I think is what it was. And in that time, we went in and we just every day we created our own composting pile. We created this, we were digging it, tilling it, and moving it around, and just kind of learning as we went. And I remember the first season we got stuff to grow in this garden. Both of us were so incredibly grateful. And there was so much gratitude that we had put in all this hard work and effort. We didn't even own this place. I mean, it was a rental. And we're like, we just put in all this effort for the landlord that owns this place, who will probably never appreciate what we did in cleaning up the backyard. And we made this garden. But for us, it was this huge stepping stone of just awesomeness. I mean, it was so cool to go out there and harvest tomatoes for the first time that were ours. We grew them. And there was these old grapevines that were in the backyard that had been there, that we revitalized in this process of cleaning up this garden. So we ended up with grapes unexpectedly that we didn't even really know. I mean, there was kind of these ratty looking trees, and turned out to be that they were grapes. And so we got grapes from it, and we started getting all this different fruit. And I just remember we were going through it, and religiously, I've always looked to the story of the 10 talents. If people know that story, it's one of my favorites, and it's all about gratitude. It's like you've been given something, and you work really hard with what you've been given, and those that are appreciative and use it well get more. And we were looking at this garden, and I was like, why would I put all this effort into someone else's yard? Why would I put this much work and hard work into building something so beautiful, and it's not even mine? I don't get to keep it. I don't get to hold on to this. And we were nowhere close to being able to own our own home at the time. Like, there was no way. Just I wasn't making enough yet, fresh out of college, still learning. Just I had started a job teaching, but we started putting in this effort, and then 2008 hit, and the market tanks. Everything goes to crap. We're sitting in this rental home, and we're like, okay, I'm grateful right now. I got a place to live. Our friends are losing their homes. Things are going sideways really fast. And we had talked so much about the gratitude we had for this rental place. And this amazing thing happened, that because of this market crash and other people were losing, we actually ended up gaining. We actually ended up in this position where we could get a house. Like, we had saved up some money. We had a little bit down. There was all kinds of different loans that came into play during this time, things that were helping first-time buyers to get into homes without all the variable arms and all that other stuff that was going on. And so out of the blue, literally like within a 4-month period of time, we ended up buying a house that was 2 blocks away from this rental house that we were in. And we got this house. I remember my wife coming home, and she's like, I'm looking everywhere. We're trying to find this stuff. And she's like, I found this house right around the corner. It's just down the street. You got to come look at it. So we go and look at this house. And again, it's a dump. It's a tiny little house, but we have the opportunity to buy this house. And it sits on a 1/3 acre of land. And we had just had this little 15-foot by 20-foot garden. And we got over to this house, and our friends looked at it, and they're like, you're crazy if you guys buy this house. Do not buy this house. Like, absolutely do not. But we looked at it, and all we could see was this potential. We could see all this potential of, we just had a little garden. We want a bigger garden. We want bigger space to be able to, to grow these things that we love doing. And we can fix up a house. We can fix up a yard. And this yard had weeds in the backyard that were probably 5.5 feet tall, the whole backyard. And the front yard it was just weeds too. They were probably 3 feet tall or whatever. And in fact, kind of a side note, funny story on this, we had a dog, this little Chihuahua Terrier, and the dog was on our front yard. It ran out in the street, and we ended up buying this house, and this dog's sitting out on the front yard. We hadn't had a chance to clean anything up yet, and the dog runs out in the street, and we don't know about it, and suddenly our dog's gone. And so later that day, we get a phone call from someone. They're like, hey, we found your dog. And we're like, okay, awesome. our dog was at our house. I don't know where it would have gone. And she's like, yeah, I was just driving around and I saw it and it was in the street. And so I went to get it and it ran up to like the yard, like the front of this abandoned home. That was our house. Okay,
Crack house. Ran into this crack house. It was weird.
just ran up into this abandoned
That's
home.
my house.
Yeah, it was on our front porch. The lady took our dog from our front porch because she thought it was it was pretty bad. So
That feels good about rescuing this dog from this life of
Right.
misery.
I'll save you. Don't you worry. I
This
got
dog.
you.
bad shape in our abandoned home. So
That's
that
hilarious.
maybe that'll clarify how the roughness of this house when we moved in. But in the middle of that, we realized, okay, we bought another. We didn't buy another. We bought our very first rat hole, and but the potential was just amazing on this house. And so we went in. And we went into this backyard. Our main focus was we wanted a bigger garden. We wanted to grow. We wanted to learn to grow more. And so we went in, and a friend of ours loaned us his skid steer tractor, and we took it in there and we dug out on the backyard, 50 foot by 75 foot, pretty big area. We dug all the way down, probably 14 inches of dirt, and hauled it off. Like just dug the whole backyard out and hauled it out of there. And then we ended up bringing in, I think it was 13 tons of compost, 13 tons of wood chips, and as much topsoil as we could get, and manure. We just brought it in. Our neighbors loved us. The place stunk so bad. It did not smell good, but we refilled that whole backyard. And for the next 10 years in that home, every year we improved that backyard and that garden to the point that when we finally sold that home, you could literally just stick your hand into the soil about halfway up my forearm.
Wow.
You didn't have to dig. You could literally just shove your hand down in the soil.
That's
And
impressive.
I remember thinking when we got done with
It's
that,
just
we sold that
strong.
house.
It's not. It had nothing to do with the dirt. Yeah. He's just freakishly strong.
That working on it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My 160-pound self all the way up till then.
Yeah.
But again, it was one of those things. We went from that old house and we had that 15 by 20 foot area, and we moved into this like 50 by 75 or whatever the size was that we ended up with, and we turned it into this place that was it was the most amazing thing. We had so much fruits and vegetables and things like that growing in that garden. There was no way we could eat all of that, and being able to share with the neighbors and share with the neighborhood, it was amazing. And again, it was gratitude. It was gratitude of looking at where we were now. We owned the home. We have the opportunity to grow this for ourselves, and look back and realize the only reason we knew how to do what we did in that house is because we did it in someone else's house. We improved someone else's property. We had the gratitude and the appreciation for what we had at that time. And looking back on that this week, I mean, it's been awesome. It's been really cool to look back at that and think, I gotta just stop. I gotta just be grateful. I gotta look at where I am now and how I got here and the gratitude for that journey. It really has. I mean, it's been amazing this week to think about that. And it's you guys, I mean, the appreciation for doing this show. Sorry, I'm getting a little choked up. But just stop. Sometimes you gotta just stop and look at where you are and look at how you got there, and just be grateful. Just really be grateful. And you may not have everything you want. I mean, we were able to this last year. We were able to sell our home, and we ended up buying this 30 acres with a home on it. And because of our home and the changes in the market and things like that, we were able to pay off our home that we purchased and buy this home and pay it off completely. I don't know very many people who have that opportunity. And if I were not grateful for that, I would really be an incredibly ungrateful person. And
it's kind of funny how that works, huh? The opposite of grateful. Is kind of like, well, if I wasn't grateful, I'd be ungrateful.
I would be ungrateful.
You know what I hear. So as you were talking, and I we joked a little bit about doing that much homework before, and you're like, it wasn't that much work at all. It's actually probably pretty rewarding to sit down and slow down. Um, I've been telling myself that for a long time, that hey, slow it down. Sometimes I try to force things and push and push and push and push and grind and grind and grind. But then I find myself, when I slow down and I show gratitude, and I live in the moment, and I can see things differently. I can see it clearer. Um, the creation of starts to pour in, and the feelings of the gratitude, of thankfulness, of relationships. Just as we're talking about this, Pride, I'm thinking about our relationship and the connection that we've had, and the gratitude for you two guys. I can see that you guys are both cut from the same cloth. I think Pride's is a little bit better cloth. Sorry,
I
Nick.
got the better side,
He's
dude.
like the
Like,
2.0 version of you, so I'm sorry.
you
He
got the
got
black
better.
side of the cloth, the frayed edge.
But
Yeah.
yeah. But to have you point out those gems, seeing the potential, looking past the weeds, slowing down, reflecting, like those are some massive nuggets, where if somebody will do that in their life, the rewards that come from doing that are massive.
I want to create a distinction between the word gratitude and appreciation, because they are distinct and they both can work together. Because gratitude is simply being satisfied or pleased with what is, and appreciation is adding value to it. And so it's increasing the value of the experience. I think when people get depressed, it's so easy to go into that space of why me? Why is my world this way? Well, that's kind of the purpose of depression. If we went into that, is depression is meant to pull you back. It's an energy of stopping putting energy into things that aren't working anymore. And so when you get into that space to really step back, like you're saying, Pride and Ryan, you get into that space and you're really struggling, you have this chance to reflect on the situation and the challenges. People get stuck in that reflection. They don't come out of it. And I think gratitude is the way out. It's the way to start seeing potential. It's a way to start seeing vision for what's possible. And then adding value to that experience. When you go back to tell that story, like you just did, you go back and that story has added value and appreciation and value, just like money would appreciate, or a house would appreciate in value, like your houses did. Right. So I think recognizing I'm grateful for what I have, I'm satisfied with what I have, and I'm going to add value to the whole experience is going to be one of those tools that pulls you out of that depressed state. And I remember when we talked last week, it was, I won't overshare here, you're in kind of a rough spot. You're feeling really down. And I can totally relate to that. And giants that maybe know us have seen that through myself, through Ryan, through others, is that, man, we feel the same range of emotions that you do. We get depressed, we get anxious, we have challenges in life, we have things that we have to work through. And to express gratitude for even having that, to accept it and then appreciate it, is huge for us. It helps us step out. What comes up around that for you?
One of the things I think about in that comment that you just said about how when we hit those lows, we hit those parts where we're just feeling rock bottom, and how it gives us the opportunity to reflect. It really does. And I think the most important thing in that is the gratitude for those around us that are there to listen when we're in those spots. You and I had that conversation last week, and we talked very in depth about all of this. And it's just, sometimes we forget that we're not alone. We feel so alone when we hit these rock bottom parts in our lives that we forget to look around and be grateful for the people that are there lifting us up. And we feel like it's just me. Nobody else goes through this. No one else feels the way I feel. No one else could possibly feel the anguish and the pain and the frustration that I'm going through. And it's not true. We all do. Everybody does. Every one of us feels those emotional downplays. Like, at certain points, we're all going to experience something that's the same as someone else, even though the experience is different. We all hit those same lows. and stopping and realizing that, like, I can sit down and I can talk to either one of you at any time, and I know you guys will be just an amazing sounding board for me to lift
except
me up
except
out of those low
tomorrow at
points.
2 p.m.
Yeah, I'm not going to call you then
Any other time.
because
I've
I'm going
still
to be
got your back.
a whole lot of food. But it is like you can't let yourself. It lets you have that awareness. It lets you open up. It lets you see that you're not alone. Like,
Yeah.
there's people there to help you. There's friends there to help you. They really do understand. No, they didn't lose what you lost. They didn't have the same experience as you, but they had something in their life that was equal to that on their level. And being grateful for that. Like, we all understand each other on such a level that it's mind blowing. It's like we all mesh into this beautiful mosaic of experience. And you just have to stop and be grateful for that, and be
It's
grateful.
really weird when we get together. There's some weird conversations that come up.
There are some weird.
I don't know if it's a beautiful mosaic or not, but it's definitely interesting. If anybody was ever around, we should probably record some of those.
Yeah, I think it's more like if SpongeBob were to create a mosaic, it would look like that. Like, beautiful.
It's a good time, really.
Yeah.
I'll be grateful for that ugly, pudgy mosaic.
Yeah. Tons of dad jokes and some growth.
Lots of dad jokes.
Mixed with hints of growth. Yeah.
Yes, little hints.
I look at the power of the human body to change, to change energy and to shift energy. And gratitude's one of those tools that can transform energy nearly immediately. Like when you can get your mind around how beneficial the situation is for you, it allows you to shift it. And in that shift, you can start creating. You step into that world of uncertainty, you start creating from there, and everything's possible. And I mean, anybody could go into a house like what you did. I'm going to tie it back to that. Have a really bad attitude around it. Like, this sucks. Why does this happen to me? They self-center, and it becomes all about them. And they go into that depressed state, and then they don't come out of it. And that house really does turn into a turd for them. It's terrible. But if they can pause with it and accept that it is what it is, and from that space create gratitude for it, it opens up the door to uncertainty and possibility, which, for the giant's journeys, those are steps in creating your life differently or creating the situation differently. And I think having people as a sounding board, like what we have, is one of those ways that you can start to transform that and really look at the situation for what it is, but also recognize the good in it. Because other people, and I'm not talking toxic positivity here. I'm not just saying, hey, just shift your attitude. You'll be okay. Everything will turn out. Yeah, turd is an official scientific word for piece of crap house. But anyway, let's keep going. Like, what else?
So I got I like the perspective shift to like the perspective that Pride's been giving me here, and they're very easily inside all of the turd, inside all the crap that was happening, right? I mean, he looked at it, and somebody else looks at it and says, "That's a turd," and then Pride turns around and says, "That's got potential. That's amazing."
Wait till
How
I
often?
polish it.
But how often? Yeah, he's really good at polishing rocks. So turd would be that difficult
Not
for
that
Pride.
far.
If you've ever seen his art, you need to follow Pride and look at his art, because it is phenomenal. Very talented individual. And so he's teaching me things of not just in his artistic ability, but also his way of being and his perspective in life. How often do we do that? Where I did it the other day. I was judging myself so hard, like on a picture. And it was a picture that we took when we were together. And I'm judging myself like, look, I look stoned. Like I look stoned. That's what I said. And I'm judging myself. I'm like, do I put this picture up? Because I was like, like, and I'm like, no, like, I'm going to post it anyway. Because I love myself. And so I did. I posted anyway, and somebody else pointed out another judgment that I made, and it shifted my perspective again. And I was like, "Thank you for pointing that out to me, because now I can see it from a different perspective." And when that comes up again, because it will, Stuff comes up all the time. This is real life stuff. I mean, there's stuff that comes up. There's turds that come into your life. Happens. And so, but when it does, now you can, when it comes up in your mind, to judge yourself or to look at a negative situation or a hard thing or whatever you might see it to be, might be able to stop and go, well, is it? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just what it is. Maybe I'm not that way, as a possibility. And then change your perspective, start having some gratitude. I started saying some things about myself like, man, look at that salty beard. That's beautiful. You know what? There's some people that like gap teeth.
Yeah,
That-
I
man.
do.
That saltiness just means you're a well-seasoned individual.
Well seasoned.
Well seasoned.
Yeah.
And when turds are present, shift happens.
See, dad jokes.
That
There we
joke.
go.
Let's go the rounds, guys. But you
Hey,
were stoned.
Hugh,
That's not a
guess what?
judgment.
What if I was? That is exactly what the person said. But were you? So what if you were stoned? That's what they said. And I was like, so what if I was? So what if I was? So maybe not. Still love myself.
Yeah, I think that's important. Just that grace for each other too. Like I feel like grace and
Aw.
gratitude go well together. I look stoned. I don't even know where to go now.
Yeah. well,
Other than grace and gratitude. That's all I got. Go, guys.
Yeah.
So I did
No.
have there's this awesome quote when I was looking up this stuff. Eckhart Tolle
Yeah.
has it's acknowledging the good that you already have in your life is the foundation for all abundance.
Yeah.
And I look at where we are with, us being able to purchase this 30 acres and being able to have what we have and stepping outside and walking around, and just looking where we've been able to come on this journey. And if I don't acknowledge that, I'm going to miss out on what I can do with what I currently have now. And I think my thing is, we were talking last week and I got stuck in this rut, and that rut was, I've worked so hard to make certain accomplishments and I don't feel like I've attained them. But what I'm not stopping and seeing is the ones that I have attained, the accomplishments that I have achieved, where I've been able to come to from where I was. And sure, it may take us our entire lives to get where we want to be, and we may never fully get where we want to be. But there's this journey of getting there that we're not ever going to feel like we've ever come close to what we're trying to attain if we don't stop and realize what we've attained. And I think that's one of the most important parts of gratitude. If you can't realize what you've done and what you've got, how are you ever going to appreciate what's coming to you and what you're going to get? You got to take that time. You got to stop. I love that quote by Eckhart Tolle.
So I wonder on that, how does a person do that without going into the world of shame? Like I know we grew up on a healthy diet of shame and frosted flakes, right?
Three full servings a day.
Bowl of
Every
shame
day.
a
Food
day
pyramid of shame.
with a bowl of milk and maybe an egg on the side. And so how do you go into that space without going into shame? Like, well, you should recognize, because I feel like that spirals people down even further when they feel shame around not feeling gratitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, maybe we can touch on that for just a minute and come back to it after the break. But do you want to touch on that? Either of you? You want to tackle that around shame and gratitude?
Yeah, I think it's really important to realize that because part of it is, it's like, oh, I'm not grateful enough. I'm not this enough. We always have the tendency to look at ourselves on the negative perspective instead of, I did this training last week with a girl who was teaching us mindfulness. And her whole training was sitting down, stopping, listening. And you don't have to, it's not meditation. It's not stopping and taking 20 or 30 minutes out of your day. It's literally just being aware. And one of the things that I've learned, I had spoken with this guy who is a psychologist, and he was giving me some key tools for my life of how do you sit down, how do you be more aware and less judgmental. And part of that was just stop. Like, don't shame yourself. You know, that's the first place we go. We literally go there all the time. That's where I was last week. I was shaming myself because I hadn't achieved what I feel like I should have achieved at this point in my life.
Hmm.
And what got me to stop was you and I, Nick, sitting down and having this conversation, and me realizing that I had made a commitment to you this week to come on this radio show, and that I should probably just stop for a minute. No negative, no positive, no indifference, nothing in between, just stop. And I feel like if we take that time to just stop and just let ourselves, like, not be negative, not be positive, just stop. Just look around and just realize you are here. This is where you are. It's okay. Whether you feel like crap, whether you feel great, it's fine. Just stop. Now, what do you want to do? And if that's be grateful, then stop and be grateful. If that's to take a few more minutes to wallow in your misery, then do it,
Yeah.
because move you forward to the next step. It's okay to wallow in it when you need to wallow in it. It's healing. And
Perfect.
sometimes wallowing it enough, you're like, I'm done. I got to move forward.
I kind of stink. I got to take a shower, right? Like, let's use
Yeah.
that as a break right there. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a 2-minute break for commercials and for our sponsors. Truth is, we don't have any sponsors. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out to us, but we don't need it. We appreciate it. We appreciate you as viewers, and we're grateful to have you on here. So I would love to see in the comments, what thoughts do you have, or what would you like us to touch on when we come back from break around gratitude? Meh, who smells? I can't smell anything anyway. So yeah. Corona knows.
That's the real thing.
That
Like
is
a
a real thing.
long-term stuff going
Yeah.
down.
Might have that forever.
Have
Yeah.
that for the rest of your life.
Good news is I can't smell farts anymore. That's a positive thing.
I like the slowing down. Like, but going to what Melissa was talking about, she messaged me this morning since she brought it up. I'm not going to go into detail, but
Yeah.
a lot of times we wonder, that's a real thing to say, God, I'm not where I want to be. Not where, like, I didn't imagine this. I've said it to Nick, like, I didn't imagine my life to be this way. If somebody said to me, hey, this is where you're going to be, like 20 years ago, said, hey, you're going to be right here at 40. You're going to be on this podcast. You're going to be with Nick Smith. You're going to be doing Wake Up with Giants TV and all the stuff that, that I've done. I mean, that's kind of cool, actually, to tell you the truth. But I never would have thought I would have gone through all of the stuff that I went through to get to right here. Not even close. And, a lot of times we throw this like timeline and like somebody else's way of being, and like that we have to live up to some sort of expectation of where we have to be at a certain time point. So maybe we can dive into some of those things around
I think
Let's-
that could be
that.
good.
Yeah,
Let's do that.
another nice dose of guilt and shame. Let's go into
Yeah,
that.
healthy dose.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna come back on here and
Yeah,
just
we want to jump into it because we do. It's like we all set these time frames of, I'm 40. I should have been here. I should have like this super nice house, nice cars, like successful business. I should have all this by the time I reach this age. Says who?
Yeah.
We pin
Okay.
that on ourselves. Why? Why do we do that?
I'm gonna jump us back in, so hang on to that. So welcome back, Giants. We're diving into the episode why gratitude, I can speak eventually, is important.
Grateful you
with
can.
Special guest Bride Smith and Ryan Morris on Wake Up with Giants Radio. As we continue the conversation from the last segment here, we're going to dive deeper into gratitude and the importance of gratitude and how shame can impact that and how we can step out of that. And you guys had some thoughts. Do you want to kind of share those thoughts, Ryan?
Before the break, I was just talking about how sometimes where we think that we should be at a particular point in life,
Yeah.
that maybe that's been placed. Maybe that's like, hey, you should be successful, or you see what success is supposed to look like, and so you've set these like bar, like you've set the bar. This is where I should be at this point, and then when you're not there, then you beat yourself to death. I mean, it's easy to do. We're like our own worst critics. There's so much negative self-talk that can come in, and doubt and fear and anxiety and all this stuff that can come in because we're not where society tells us, or we're not, we're even where we thought we would be. So I wanted to talk about a little bit about that if we could dive into it. And then also people saying, well, what's wrong with me? Is it me?
Yeah.
Is it stuff that I'm doing? And maybe I,
Well, I think we're wired for social connection. And most of our development happens in social connection. So after we're born, our brains wire to fit the environment that we're in. And then we have these pressures put on us to fit into that culture, whatever that culture is. I remember the conversation that we had with Sham this week, and how he grew up in an Indian culture and they expected him to do certain things and have an arranged marriage. And he did all the things, he ticked all the boxes. And then after that, he felt a great deal of shame and started to redevelop his life the way he wanted it. And I think sometimes we feel like this pressure to fit into our culture, to fit into society in a certain way. And then when we don't measure up to it, we start to get anxious around that. Like we get anxiety. Lisa Feldman Barrett goes into research on that, that we feel anxiety when we feel like we're not measuring up to the ideals of others, and we feel depression when we don't feel like we're measuring up to our own ideals. But where are those own ideals based off of? They're from whatever our culture was, our foundational values, and we judge ourselves from that and where we think we should be in relation to that. And so it's so relative. Like I could go to another culture. I could go to South America. I was there for a couple of years as a missionary. I did do missionary work before I started swearing and drinking, guys. but
I
But you're not going to be ashamed of that.
yeah,
yeah.
no. Yeah. Um, but being in that culture, being in a third world country and watching people be grateful for very, very little, right? And have dreams to fit in a certain way for that culture, which would have been different from what we would want up here in America. And to see them pursue that and go through the same emotional experiences that we do around not measuring up to that cultural ideal. So it's so relative, whatever that is, that we measure ourselves against something that's subjective, that's in a way made up. What do
Yeah.
you think around that?
It's so true. We set all of these expectations on ourselves based on our surroundings. It's based on, what someone else did or what we see around us that we feel like we want or we should have or whatever it is, and we create these. I wouldn't even call them unrealistic expectations. We just set expectations that aren't, in many cases, even what we want in our lives. I've been working on this dream of being a business owner, doing this stuff, building a business, being successful, and I've done that, and I've also not done that at the same time. I'm a 20% owner of a business that I helped create that's doing very well, and but it wasn't my dream. I helped somebody else attain their dream. Um, but it was my dream. In all honesty, I mean that's what I've been working for the last 20 years is how do I get a business to be successful? And because I have there's this tendency to stop and look and think, well, I helped this person do it with their business. Well, it's my business too. I'm a percentage owner of that business. But there's this shame that I create inside of myself that it's not the business I wanted to create. And sometimes it's really important, especially for me. This last week has been awesome to sit and look at that. There's so much gratitude I have for that business that I helped my nephew create, because it is successful, and I was a huge part of that. Um, and he was a huge part of that, and my family was a huge part of that, and you guys were a huge part of that. Like these conversations back and forth of realizing, just look at what you've done. Don't worry if you've achieved what your neighbor has achieved. Don't worry if you've reached the level of what you are assuming that you should be at for this age in your life or stage in your life, whatever it is. Just look at what you've been able to do in that journey and stop and look. Like for me right now, the biggest gratitude moment in this kind of comparative process is I helped someone achieve something really big who was a huge player in my life in helping me understand more of myself and my own potential. Um, and the gratitude shift inside of that is really a huge thing for me because it removes that shame of, well, I've had all these good ideas that I wanted to turn into something and I didn't. I really did. in a totally different way, and stopping and taking yourself out of that shame of not reaching what I thought I was going to reach at this point. Um, I don't know if that makes sense. Like
Yeah, it does. It
I
does.
really did, in a totally different way. And we shame ourselves because we set these expectations that just, they really, I don't know, they aren't us. Like when I was talking to you last week, I was in a dark, low place. And in that low place, it was based on the fact that I have had all of these ideas that I wanted to turn into businesses, or to turn into something that I could sell and really provide abundantly for my family, and I haven't been able to with my own ideas. And so I was kind of wallowing in this dark pit of shame, like really being ashamed that, why haven't I been able to do this? And then I came home and I stopped and I went outside and I fed my sheep and I
Mhm.
fed my goats and I fed my pigs and I walked around my property and I thought, what, like, where did this come from? Someone didn't just hand this to me. I worked really hard over the years and I learned a lot of lessons, a lot of really rough, hard lessons, and I got here. And every one of us has that. And we just get so trapped in that negative space of self shame and self wallowing and self pity. And sometimes we just need to walk outside and do, one of the things that you said, it was probably a year ago, was you used to encourage everybody, go outside and walk around barefoot. And this was one of those grounding moments for me this week. I walked outside. I went for a walk on my property. I went and I looked around outside and I realized I am exactly where I want to be.
Hmm. There
And
we
I'm
go.
okay with being here. Like, yeah, I mean, no
I
shame. There's
I
no
want
shame in
to I want to jump in kind of another direction here now, like looking at the frequency of gratitude. I went I go to 7-Eleven right by my house here just about every morning to get a coffee, and the owners of the 7-Eleven are phenomenal. Like they're this just a couple that they're there from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. They're there all day, and they just bust their ass for this business that they've created, and they love it. And we were talking this morning. I gave them books. I gave them The Giants and the Smalls as a gift. I said, I just want to give that to you. And they said, it's funny how in America we make everything busy. We're always busy, because he said something about liking to read books. He says, I love to just sit and get a quiet space and just read a book. And in America, there's not time to do that. So we have Audible and we have Blinkist and we have all these things that speed up our ability to take in more information so we can do more out here. And he says he has a friend over in Australia that runs a business similar to his. And he says, what are you doing? His friend asks him what he's doing. He says, well, I'm still at work. And he laughs at him because over there they run it differently. And I think what we have this tendency to do in America is get busy in things. And so when somebody says, how often should you be grateful? This is where I'm going to tie this in. Just trust me, I'll get there.
I
But
was wondering when it was
yeah,
going to
where
happen,
the hell
Nick.
is he going?
I didn't have any judgment. I'm just like sitting here like
I had
enthralled in the
judgments of
story.
the
Here we
judgments I was
go.
projecting on you of having. So that's where I'm judging myself. Uh, we have this tendency to want to be busy, and so we think frequency equates to value and increase in experience, right? And there was research that was done that said if you were to do gratitude weekly, it would be more impactful than doing it daily. And the reason for that is because we tend to automate things and turn them into checklists and to-do lists. And there's no emotion behind it. It's just something that we get done. We shut down, we caffeine up, and we get it done. So somebody says, yeah, keep a gratitude journal daily. And we're like, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. In fact, I'm not just going to do it daily. I'm going to do it every hour on the hour. And not only am I going to do that, I'm going to do like a list of 1,000 words of gratitude just so people know how serious I am. Right. And there's no emotion behind it. And there's no feeling and sitting and slowing down with the experience to really fully be present, whatever you want. Um, so that frequency of gratitude and looking at our culture where we have this push and this drive to just be busy, like we could learn about gratitude and then it would become another to do for us and it would cause stress and it wouldn't be beneficial. Do you have some thoughts around that?
I do, actually. So I was talking to my wife about this a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about just this culture of busy, and everything's busy. Like people ask, "Hey man, how's it going?" Like, "Oh, good. Everything's so busy. I got so much going on." Like that's a response now, like just a standard response that people give now.
And they're
Is I'm
like, hell
busy.
yeah, man.
Supposed
Awesome.
to equate you. Yeah, it like
Yeah.
put you whatever level, how busy I am. And I came home when we moved out here. Um, I have a job that I work full time, and then I have all these things that I do on the side. But what I didn't have in the middle of all of that was time to just stop and enjoy my family.
Yeah.
There was no time for that because I was so busy. I'm
Right.
busy. My kids are like, "Hey, let's go play catch or something." I got to get this done. I got clients that I'm doing some work for. Um, and I think inside of all of that, I told my wife, like, I'm done. No more side jobs. No more side jobs. I'll do some stuff for friends. I'll do some stuff for family, but I'm done. I'm going to do my full time job, my full time work. And then if I feel like doing something else, then I'm going to do it. And I mean, I've had time in these last few weeks to go play catch with my daughter that wants to learn how to play softball. I've had time to take both my daughters out and teach them how to drive a stick shift vehicle. You know, things are opening up because I've decided I don't want to live that life. I don't want to be that person who's just busy. Like I think it takes so much out of us. And this, tying back into what you were asking, how do we have gratitude and not make it a checklist item? And I think the key to that is don't make yourself so busy because gratitude I feel will happen naturally in the process of all the ups and downs and everything else when you're not so busy that you can't just sit down and relax. You realize I'm taking some me time. I'm going to sit down and read a book instead of, pounding through an audiobook or whatever. I'm going to feel the pages of the paper and smell the book, whatever it is. I feel like the slowing down just automatically creates the gratitude. And then it's not a checklist item. You're not so busy that you have to fit it into your schedule. And I think that's hugely important. We are such a busy culture. And if we don't find ways out of that and letting ourselves just enjoy life itself, we end up wallowing. We end up being in misery and shame and sorrow where we could be appreciating ourselves. And our body's probably thanking us for, hey, you're not so busy. Good job.
I think finding peace in it, finding peace in whatever's going on is one of the steps, because then you have that release of dopamine, you start to feel good, you tell everybody that you love them. That's what I do anyway. But when you feel peace with what is, you're present. You're fully present. And it's a little different from depression. Depression pulls you back into reality, but you're not present. You're more looking at what should be, which is future based, or what has been, which is past based, past tense. And so peace is one of those things is fully present. You're here and you're good with it. You're like, I'm good with what is. So I think acceptance is one of the steps for becoming grateful. Acceptance, we talk about this a lot, the distinction between allowance and accommodation. um, Acceptance really just means that it is what it is. Accommodation means that some things are around longer than others. Allowance is they're there temporarily. And so in acceptance, it is what it is, whatever that is. If it's accommodation or allowance, it's still acceptance. It's just, this is what's happening in my life. This is the situation. And then from that, creating that gratitude of being at peace with what is opens the door to really look at the positive and the potential. And so if I were to slow down with that, to turn that into a checklist, I'm going to do a checklist, right? And I'm going to do all those things, and to not put emotion into it, it wouldn't feel like gratitude to me.
Hmm.
It'd feel like a job.
Boo.
Boo. J-O-B.
I think that's one of the
That's my
keys.
judgments of jobs. Boo.
I think that is one of the
Judgments.
biggest keys to gratitude, though. It's the emotion,
Yeah.
really feeling. It's not sitting down and writing down, oh, I am grateful that I have a house. I am grateful that I have a bed. Like
Yeah.
the emotion's not there. It's not going to stick. It's not going to embed itself into your memory. It's not going to be one of those moments where you stopped and realized, wow, I really do appreciate my life. I
Yeah.
really am grateful through the shit, through the good, through everything. Like I'm just really grateful for all of it because all of it has gotten me to where I am, and I'm here because of all of it, every ounce of it. And it really is the emotional connection to all of that and being grateful. Some of the I like there's an appreciation in my heart for a couple of years ago when I was really struggling and growing the business, and you were there, Nick, to help me out and walk me through that. There was an emotional connection to the gratitude that I have for those times that we sat in my trailer that I was living in at the time and we had our talks. That is always like anytime I hit a rut, I can lean back on that and remember. And it's because the emotion connected to that experience, it's an unforgettable gratitude. And really, I think that is the most important thing in all of our gratitude is if it's a checklist, it's meaningless.
Yeah,
If it
man.
Pride, I
really stop.
remember when, this is just a few years ago when you were in a
Yeah,
trailer up here and commuting back and forth and back and forth. It's tough on your relationship, it's tough on your mind, it's tough on your body and your self-esteem. Look at where you are now
yeah,
versus then. And the character of the man hasn't changed. The character of Pride Smith, I know Pride Smith inside and out. I don't ever question that. What what changed is is your perspectives, and you then, as you change your perspectives, the things that you were working on and dedicating and keeping that feeling, that created the magic, that created the things that, that are happening, and that personal inner commitment. Steve Hardison talks about that, and I'll preach that till the day I die. That TBOLITNFL, that personal inner commitment that Pride Smith has to have something different, better, to grow, to stretch, to reach, um, and then along the way, the measure that man is he turns around and he helps others along the way to be inspired and to feel the same feelings as he's had. And dude, I'm extremely grateful that our paths crossed. I talked about my job just a minute ago, like I hated it, and there's days that aren't fun, but the truth is that because of my job, because of the opportunity that presented itself, if I wouldn't have taken that job, and then all the things that happened at that job that then led me to leave that job, and I wouldn't have met Nick Smith at the job that I then got after that, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the job I have now, because it affords me the opportunity to do what I do and not have to worry about the income and the time commitments, because I can do it fairly well because of my job. And but I'm also grateful for you, Pride, because dude, the help that you've given us along the way, the words of wisdom, the late nights,
The
the
logos, the
the logos, the
designs, the
designs, yeah,
merchandise,
the
like everything.
friendship, the
Yep.
creations that have come from us just sitting around and
Well, that too.
just hanging out with dad
I
jokes.
guess we'll include
There's
that.
been a lot of dad jokes, and
Yeah.
those have really, there's I wouldn't give all the money in the world to give up those experiences. It's not worth it to me. So thank you.
Man. I have a thought that I want to try and bring back here that ties us together. I think, the feeling is a big thing. Like we have our memories. Most of our memories are stored around emotion, heavy emotions, good emotions. Those emotions help us access the memories, and it's in those memories that we have appreciation for the experience, right? And so when we hear some good music and it pulls up an emotion, and then we remember everything else tied to that emotion, it just helps us to anchor in that love for the experience. And somebody with a heavy emotion would have it in the other direction. And so the being with the emotion is so vital in gratitude to really be at peace with what is. This is where I wanted to go. I'm going to tie this back in to where my thought was going, is that the more you let go of trying to control the outcome and trying to force it and trying to make it a to-do list and trying to be the busy guy or girl, the more you let go of that and trust that however it's going to work out, it's going to work out. You declare your visions. We were talking about this, Ryan, earlier, and I'm going to get a little spiritual on this one. If we were to say, thy will be done to God, right? It would be just the same as saying it's okay to say no to me, but here's what I'm asking, right? that got emotional, that the letting go would be, I'm okay if it never happens, but this is what I want. And if it's okay, this is what I'm looking for. And then we work toward it, but we let go. And in that piece of letting go, it's like these things just come together, these serendipitous moments, these synchronicities. I see the number up here on Dad's plane. He has 711 on his airplane, and there's consistently throughout this show, 7 people viewing, 11 hearts. And so there's these synchronicities, and maybe I'm just seeing what I want to see, right? But there's this letting go that creates peace, and it's in that peace that you feel gratitude, and it's in that gratitude that you see possibility. And the more we try and control it, manipulate it, and force it, the more stressed and anxious and down we feel, the more self-centered we become. The more peaceful we feel, the more other-centered we become. And so really letting go of the how and surrendering, the word surrender means to turn over to someone, something higher than yourself, something more powerful than you. Like, without somebody on the battlefield to surrender to, there is no surrender. You can raise a white flag, but to who? To what? Like, we think we're in so much control. Like, I couldn't have predicted the Wake Up with Giants TV or the groups or anything else has come out of this. I didn't have the vision for that, but here we are.
We
Right?
talked, Nick, too. We talked today about a lot of times people will they'll say, okay, well, like they'll kind of force things. They'll like say, I got to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But we talked about asking God, the universe, source, the divine, whatever works for you. How can you use me? What can I do to use what I have, the talents? We talked about the talents that I've been given, or the platform, or the money, or whatever you have, just you, to do good, to do more. What can I do to serve? How can I help? Where is my time best served for good? And then to see what happens. And that's how we've approached the tribe,
Yeah.
the league, everything that we've done. And when we catch ourselves, because we slip into, we're human, sometimes we slip back into like those thought patterns where like, well, what is this going to do for us?
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's normal. But if you
Right.
flip that, look at the different perspective, that's all the creativity, that's where the flow has come through. That's when, like, divine inspiration comes in, and we have these thoughts where we're sitting there on your back porch of game changing ideas, where um, we can impact our vision.
Even more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and just letting it play out. I've watched
yeah,
so many
yeah.
with the Tribe of Giants, and I love the creations that have happened here, and the gratitude not only of ourselves but of the people who participate in all of this. And all of it has come from just being in the flow, just letting things happen, just let them be, and be okay with where they are, just being okay, and letting them move forward at whatever pace they're going to move forward, with just continuous gratitude for one another. And the comments tonight, everybody, you guys are awesome.
I want to, yeah, there's that comment by Hugh. Can you go back to that? The surrender. How
Yeah.
often do we surrender to something we think is more powerful than us, but it turns out it's not? That we think it's a higher power, like fear and uncertainty, right, Hugh? And we surrender to that, and then come to realize it was smaller. Like it wasn't something higher than us, but we gave over our flag to it, right? So in gratitude, like these comments, seeing things like that come through, like there are a lot of people in this tribe that are just doing the same work we're doing that adds so much value to what we're creating here. And I just want to express that gratitude to you. Do you guys have some final thoughts as we wrap up?
I'll go quick, and then Pride, you
Yeah.
hit the end part, but I just wanted to say that You might have those feelings that come up of doubt, worry, fear, uncertainty. And Nick, we talked about this too this afternoon about remembering who you are. Like how freaking special you are. You're a freaking giant. You're a giant. Just remember, like, you're a giant. You're made for more. You're made for something amazing. Your unique abilities, your unique talents can serve. Just remember who you are. That's
like
my
that.
thought.
Thank you.
Pride.
Yeah. My last words, just simple. You're here. This is where you are. Be grateful where you are, because this is where you're supposed to be. Every one of you, every one of us. We are here. This is where we're supposed to be.
I love that.
Thank you guys so much, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah, Pride. We can't
Yes.
let you do that alone. Like, people at home are like, no,
Always beautiful.
don't take off your hat.
Oh, well, guys, thank you for an awesome show. Remember, those that are watching, you are exactly where you're supposed to be, and you are right on time. Next week, join us. We got another great show with the power of positive thinking. We've got Sean Crane and Doug McGee coming on.
dig Doug.
Dig Doug and Joust and other things. So join us next week. As always, thanks for being a part of this journey. Go out there, be a giant. Tell your friends about it, and we will see you on the next episode.
Love
Take
you
care.
too.
I don't know whether to do after show or just, that was a good pause. Can we do after show? Do you guys want to keep going for a minute?
Yeah, for a minute. Let's get going.
This has been awesome, man.
Yeah, we love you too.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from our viewers, our listeners. I mean, you guys are awesome.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Deek. Hi. Look at this. Show up sober, Ryan. I'm high on life.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
I'm in here. It's a mess. It's a circus most of the time, but it's
circus.
my circus, and I love it.
With peanuts and cockroaches.
Yeah, for the circus. Grateful for my circus. I'm grateful for my crazy.
Yeah, I really am. Like, it's weird. My wife today was like, "What is going on in your brain?"
Hey, I don't want to hatfish anybody. So
oh yeah, yeah. We talked about that too.
This is what I really look like.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I posted a picture too on a buddy's wall because he was like, "Name a bigger hatfish than me." That's when you look way better with your hat on than off. It's
like catfishing, but for dudes.
Yeah, catfish or hatfish, and that's me. Like, I look way better. And I'm gonna judge myself because I like it with my hat on. I love who I am with my hat.
With my hat.
I love myself without my hat too. I'm still the same guy.
You can see on top of my thing back there. There's like 5 Giants hats sitting on my shelf back.
Sweet.
I'm a hat guy.
We need to get more of those hats.
We do.
What do we have for welcome to the greatest circus on earth? Ryan's head. The greatest circus on that big, bald, sexy beast
yeah.
of a head.
That is a magical bald head, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes when we need inspiration, we just
brother connection. I've got this deep Irish red. Nick's rolling with salt and pepper. Like,
yeah,
Nick.
I like Salt and Pepper. I think they're a great band.
Oh
yeah,
push it.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason I'm not a musician. I'm an author, not a musician. I can write songs. I can't sing. Bring your own monkeys.
we need to get you one there, Melissa.
Well,
for sure.
In Canada, it's called a toque. Yeah.
The toque. We'll get you a toque. Hey, the silver fox. That's you. I thought that was George Clooney.
The silver fox.
Yeah.
Is that right? Fox. He is kind of a silver fox.
We're going with it.
Salt and Pepper was my first concert.
They misspelled silver. I think they meant sliver fox.
Yeah, skunk monkey.
Sliver fox. I like the
sliver
monkey.
Fox. Well, this is what it's like before the show and after the show.
Joke.
A lot of times, like, this for real. This is how it is on the porch. When we get together on Nick's porch, holy smokes!
This is the real show, guys. Like, yeah.
Cigar night is a blast. That's funny. That's some funny stuff. Stuff gets real.
We take a lot of good stoner pics on cigar night.
cigar
Yeah.
night. Stone
Last
Pits.
week, Ryan, like, I don't know what my deal was, but I was like, "Grr." I like went into like tonic mode. I think I fell asleep. Did I fall asleep on your couch for a bit?
You
Yeah,
did, man.
you
Yeah, but
kinda
I woke up and I had like inspiration. It's like I had slept for like 8 hours. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry
I went
about what
home
I
that
drew on
night.
your face, man.
John
Yeah.
John knows how we feel, huh? John
But
Absey.
yeah, John
Thank you.
Absey knows.
finally washed
Yeah.
up.
He fell asleep at a party.
Sorry about the permanent marker, man.
Yeah, we love you, buddy.
Don't fall asleep at our parties. No
This
good.
is probably censored. Are you judging? No, I'm
I
just kidding.
love it.
You know us too well.
Keep us in
Yeah,
line.
maybe.
Yeah, it might
Oh
be.
no. Yeah,
Maybe.
no. Nope. No R. Kelly.
No, not
That's
that
terrible.
bad. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I wish you all that do an incredible. That is awesome, Hugh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
know that in American history, the Thanksgiving wasn't exactly the most special day for some, and so, but how you honor Thanksgiving and give gratitude and thanks in your way is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever you do on a Thursday,
Well,
do
I was asleep
that.
in a chair. It was more like the couch. I moved. Well, I kind of started to fall asleep, but I didn't want to freeze to death outside. So Nick made
We
me
were
come
watching
inside.
I'm like,
Crazy, bro.
dude, you can't.
Like,
You
Yeah,
can't.
come on,
out,
buddy.
check
Come on
out.
inside.
I don't have insurance for that.
Yeah, right. That's what you were worried about.
No.
The
no.
insurance liability. It's like, sorry,
Yeah.
Ryan's
Gosh, dang it.
family. Ryan died. Why did he die? I left him on my porch. He froze.
Kind of cold. Dude's a popsicle.
There was enough propane at the time. I didn't know it was going to run out.
Yeah. I provided the propane too. I need to make sure that doesn't run out.
Yeah. Got to
Yeah.
keep it going. Any more dad jokes? I don't have any. I was trying to think of one. Yeah,
I
I'm
wasn't
blank.
either. It was so weird.
Hungover or passed out?
What kind of? That's like both are drunk joke. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't drunk.
Oh,
Get
grasshoppers.
this. I've never drank, so if anyone's ever noticing, or you might think I drink a
He,
lot.
he truly has never,
I've never drank.
never drank.
I sniffed some of Nick's whiskey once. It smelled good.
Whiskey?
It smelled like it could take
That
off
might
some
have been
fingernail
enough to do
polish.
It was
Or-
probably just that sniff. Is that the
Burn
same
the
as
hair on
huffing-
your chest? Yeah, that I got drunk off of that. Like,
Off the fumes.
yeah,
Yeah.
sniffing
was
the
out.
bottle, like huffing the paint?
If people are wondering what's in my drink, okay, so see that? People would be like, "That's gross."
That's
Well, when you're on
Are you
keto, you have to have high fat content, and so I put heavy cream in a sugar-free ice drink so I can get my fats in, and so it actually tastes kind of good.
blended with cottage cheese, Havarti,
And
American cheese,
tears
tears,
and all of my
Blended with
shattered
tears.
dreams right here in a cup.
That's what keto is. That's what, yeah. Diets, shattered dreams, blended tears.
I seriously almost didn't swallow that. I'm sorry if you had to hear me swallowing. Like,
I'm surprised
Wow.
we still have people watching.
'cause
Thank you. Thank you.
I gotta put these on the. No, yeah, I might have inhaled
you
it a
inhale
little
it?
bit. Well, I don't drink, and
I
Pride
do.
doesn't drink. But
Pride doesn't. I do.
do the
but-
math. No, just kidding. Let's
We
see.
just sniff Nick's
I did love
alcohol
the cottage
bottles.
cheese.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
We go hang
that's
out
as
with
close.
Nick.
One
That's what-
sniff, drunk.
Everyone's never drunk.
Thanks, Chris, my man. Hope you enjoyed the book. Thanks for the thank you for the shout out too, and
Yeah.
getting the book, and hopefully you enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
just an LOL.
We're
Sometimes
funny
you just
to ourselves. I
they're
think
at home.
it's-
This isn't like the normal LOL, like laughing. Really, they're like,
It tapers off.
yeah.
It goes lowercase. LOL.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. We
man.
love you.
You guys are
Love you
awesome.
too.
Thanks,
You
guys.
make it a
Appreciate
good
it.
night. Happy Thanksgiving.
See you, everybody.
Bye.